Well, good afternoon everybody and welcome to the latest Questback Hints and Tips webinar. It's the third one of the year and today we're looking at the top help desk queries of 2018. So, if you haven't been on one of these webinars before, my name is Michael Coulter. I'm the Client Success Director here at Questback UK and I'm absolutely delighted to be joined by hopefully a familiar voice to you today.
Hi everyone, my name is Yassine Baseso. I'm the head of the UK Help Desk here at Questback. So I oversee and work within the EFS support team. I'm sure I've dealt with most of you before via the Help Desk. If you've contacted us before, I hope the webinar will contain some useful information in regards to working with EFS.
So what we've got today is the top 7 hints and tips really from all the help desk queries that came in last year. Some straightforward, some a bit more advanced, and then got a bit of time at the end for questions and answers. But of course we do want your questions throughout, so please do jump in with any clarifications or any questions and we'll do our best to answer them as we go along. Before we get on to number 1, it's probably just good to take a second and just look at what the help desk does and doesn't do. So Yassine and myself are based here in the UK, but we have help desk colleagues in America and Germany and other places around the world. And in the UK, we're generally available from 9 till 5:30 each working day. We've deliberately set the help desk team up to be quite thin in the UK, but to sit within the wider professional services team so that we can then tap into all the other members of staff and coordinators, so technical consultants, implementation consultants, and project managers. So there's a huge wealth of experience and talent that we tap into on a daily basis. So I'm sure most of you on the call have already contacted us, and for most of our customers, we have an agreement that they contact us via UK support at Questback, and there's the phone number. What you may not be quite aware of is that within EFS, you can actually do an email from there as well. So you can see the little red line there pointing to support request. That's from the options drop-down menu in the top right-hand corner. And really, that's the same way as sending us an email. If you ever want to send a support request that way, it goes into the same email queue. In terms of what the help desk is here and isn't here to do, we're here 100% to help you. Fantastic. But what we're not here is to do the work for you. So if you phone up with an issue and you're struggling to work out how to do something, then absolutely, we're talking through how to do that. But unfortunately, as some customers asked us, can you just do it for us? I'm afraid not. That goes into the realms of consultancy and where professional services start, really. So here to help, but here not to do the work for you, is sort of the general rule. And what's really great is that in 2018, we launched the EFS community, which again can be accessed. You can see in the right-hand menu there from EFS directly, and that's available 24/7. So we're only here Monday to Friday, 9 to 5:30, but that's always there. And you can see lots of hints and tips on there and other questions that people from around the world have asked around EFS. So if you haven't had a chance already, we really strongly recommend logging on and having a look at what's available in there. So without further ado, what were the top help desk queries from 2018? And number 1 in 2018 was actually the same as number 1 in 2017 when we ran this webinar approximately a year ago. Why isn't my survey live? A very popular question. And for those of you who've been on these webinars before, you know we actually like to jump in and actually go into EFS itself. So I'm going to do that right now rather than stay in PowerPoint. And here's a little project we set up earlier. And to make a survey live, there are sort of 2 main areas that you need to look at. So what we can see here is there's 4 different options. You've got survey compiled, active, no further participations, and finished. And unsurprisingly, for your survey to be actually live in the field, it must be on active. Not survey compiled, no, all the other ones up here. It has to be on this one here. Now, the good thing about EFS is that it's very flexible. So if you ever need to pause your survey or take it down for a little while, you can click on no further participations or finished, and then go back to active again. Don't worry, some customers are very worried once you click on finished, it's finished forever. It's not that way at all. You can go back to active as many times as you want within reason. But there is a second element. Not only must it be active, also these survey dates and times must be in the correct range. So these are always the key things we're looking for when customers say their survey isn't working. Is it active? And have they got the beginning of the survey correctly, i.e. it's not in the future, and the end of the survey? And you'd be surprised how often it happens as well, it's the times. So maybe they're trying to go live at 9 o'clock in the morning, but actually they've set the beginning of the survey not to be till midday, and elements like that. So don't forget the time elements too. There are a couple of other more minor reasons that your survey may not be live that we've come across. The one is sometimes, particularly on the testing front, someone within the questionnaire editor might put a filter right at the very beginning. So the very first thing as you hit the survey might be a filter. We have to hit certain criteria to take it. So actually it could be a testing thing, and then people take the survey and says, oh, straight to the final page. They think it isn't live. It is actually, but they're just being sent straight to a final page, in effect. And a more of an advanced one is that some surveys sort of jump from an anonymous to a personalised, or from anonymous to an employee survey. This is typically where we're trying to create a fake email address on the go, and it's quite advanced functionality, but some of our clients are using this. And this scenario, you have to make sure that both surveys are set to active and the time frames are correct, including the actual dates and times. So in these scenarios, you have to make sure both surveys are really where they need to be. So they're all the main reasons that we look for where survey isn't live. Of course, there can be some highly technical elements coming into play as well. But I'd say 98, 99% of the time, these are the elements you need to look for as to whether your survey is live or not.
And also another thing to bear in mind is the time that's being set here. It's based on the user preferences of a user. So just make sure that the time zone is according to the time zone based on your own location. For instance, if you've been traveling and you may decide to change your user preferences to another time zone, that will be reflected in the time you see here. So that's another thing to bear in mind. Another hint on the top right hand corner, as you can see, it tells you whether participants can take part or not. So that will give you another indication on whether you've set all the parameters correctly.
Fantastic. So that's the first one done, a very popular query that we have. And do appreciate customers saying to us, oh, could you make it a little bit simpler? But the power it gives you to turn surveys on and off and select different dates and times is really valuable. So that's the reason why we have it that way. So on to number 2. A little bit wordy. How do I insert answers, brackets, URL parameters, into the email invitation? So it's going to be a lot easier to show you what I mean rather than try and explain this in great detail. And here is an email invitation that we created for this project you've just seen. Dear Michael, noticed recently watched a questionable webinar, and then you've got an NPS score on there. And each one of these numbered options, 0, 1, 2, 3, etc., are actually hyperlinked. So when you click on it, it's taking you into the survey. And what you've done is you've actually answered the very first question in effect of the survey. So a number of customers like doing it this way because it increases the number of responses they have to the survey and obviously decreases response times too. So a very handy little feature that you can do. So what we're going to do now is to show you how you can go about doing this. So there's sort of 2 main parameters. First, it's the email itself. So you need to set up an email as normal and then create a table or maybe insert images and link the variables, and I'll show you this in EFS in a second. And the second element is around the project. And what you need to do is you actually need to create some URL parameters to store this new variable that you've created. So I'll start on the email front. So I'm going to click on my mail templates. And here's the one that I did earlier. So I'm going to click on edit for it. And as I scroll down, you can see the actual email here. And the key thing here is to put this in here is actually a table. So all you need to do is to go to Insert Table, and as many as you want. This is actually, I think, a 20 wide table because there's a gap in between each of the numbers. And then once you've got your table in there, you've got the table properties, and you can look to maybe put different colors in and elements like that as you go along. But what's really important is you can actually see the hyperlinked. Those 2 little elements there have just come into play. If I click on it, it says equals 0. And you can see the next one will be equals 1, and so on. And that links to the URL parameter that we're creating. And there's no reason you can't have 2 questions on here. Obviously, the person will have to go back to the email and answer it again. But we've seen people have multiple things on there, depending on how they might actually enter the survey. Now, it doesn't have to be a table with these in. It could be maybe smiley gifs. How did we do today? And you click on the smiley to particularly unhappy little face as you go along, another way of doing it. And the same principle again, you then highlight the image and insert a link accordingly. Now, the good news is that I cheated with this. So I have quite basic HTML skills myself. So what I've done is I've gone into Source Editor. And actually, this little part here is all about the table. And I'm just going to select all the right elements. There we go. It says, well, what's the style? Background color. And I just updated the color accordingly. Another color there. Font size. And then it says there, each of the code complete equals these. So anyone who's interested, I'm very happy to send across that code in an email. And personally, rather than spending maybe 5-10 minutes trying to create a new table, you can do it in a matter of seconds just by dumping that code in there, which is quite a nice, easy, quick way of doing it. So that's only half the story, as I said, though. So there we go. That's how we set up the email. The other element you need to do is under Project Properties. So I'm just going to click on that. And this is where we have user-defined variables. Many of you probably have never even seen this area before because it hasn't been of relevance to you. And what you can do is you can create a number of URL parameters which can store these information as you go along. Here we've got just the one, but you can select up to, I think, 26. If I click on labels and data type, you can see there, so the NPS score in the email, which is saved as an integer. Could be text or something else, but best really save as integer if it's a number. And then that will actually save it almost as a survey variable in the background. The only difference is that it's not doing it as a set scale, which you'll see in Reporting Plus later. It actually just stores each of the numbers as they come along. So that's a really handy feature there that shows you how you can put, in effect, questions into your survey invites and kind of increase response rates and get more information from your customers with sending out your survey links.
Okay, so number 3, quite a popular question here. Why isn't my Reporting Plus data up to date? So within Reporting Plus, there are a few ways how you can update your data. So you can either do this manually or automatically. So I'll just go into the next screenshot here. So this is an example report in Reporting Plus. As you can see in the top left-hand corner there, there's a data update option. So what you can do is whenever you're within the report, you can go inside and click on data update, and that will update the data to reflect the current survey as it is. So I'm just going to go ahead and go into the actual survey itself to show you. So in this survey, as you can see, there are 2 completes. I will go ahead and open a test report that we've got here. Open that report up. This is the first question. As you can see, there's 1 answer relating to the first question and the NPS email, which is the variable that was added via the mail template. But based on the actual survey itself, there are 2 responses. Therefore, the data requires to be updated. So if you go into extras here, click on data update. It asks you whether you'd like to execute an update. Click on execute. Just give that about a second for it to load up. And now you can see here the second or the final response is now available. So just make sure if it doesn't seem to reflect the data as it is in the survey, there is a high likelihood that the data hasn't been updated. Just as you can update the data manually, there's an option to update the data automatically within the report settings. So you click on report on the top left hand corner and report settings, and there's an option here to update the report data automatically. You can start the date of the very first execution and the time and the interval, so how often you'd like the data to be updated. So you can do either every day, every 2 days, every week, every month, so just according to how often you would like to update your data. In some cases, even if you want to create a new report, you don't need to hit the update. It would reflect the current data as it is. So creating a new report would update and provide you with the most up-to-date information. Okay.
Fantastic. Another popular one is about reusing survey pages. So you're probably all quite well aware already that you can copy a whole project. So we've got a little example here on the page, and you see the red lines pointing at this little copy icon. You see copies quite a lot in the EFS platform. And that's an absolutely fine way, absolutely no problem with that whatsoever, of copying a whole project so you can use all the survey pages again. And what's quite nice is that you can often switch between anonymous survey and personalized. So this example here, you've got a personalized survey. You could copy it and then change it into anonymous later on. However, you can't change every project type into another project type. So you couldn't change from anonymous into a panel survey, for instance. So those situations, you do need a different way, if you want to use the same questions, of using that data. And EFS does give you a way of importing different survey pages into different projects. So again, I'll go into EFS to show you how this works. And here we go. So what we do is we go into our questionnaire editor. And we're all very used to clicking on plus page, but if you use a little drop down menu just here, we have an import pages option, which is very handy. So it asks you 2 things. First of all, what's your source project? Let's just find an old customer webinar survey. There's one. And then what pages do you want? And there we go. And what you can do is you can select the very first option, all pages, or you can select pages one by one. I'm afraid there isn't an option to say maybe hold down Control and pick different pages like that, or Shift, as you often see in sort of Windows-based environments. So it's either pick individual pages or the all pages option at the top. And then click import. That normally just takes a few seconds accordingly. So a very quick, easy way of importing pages from one survey into another survey. And we see customers doing this a lot, particularly around demographic sections, for instance, where they want to keep using the same demographic questions, or maybe welcome pages or exit pages. But there is one slight caveat, I'm afraid, around exit pages, that as you probably already know, whenever you create a new project, it does create a final page for you. So when you import all pages, the only page it doesn't import is actually the final page. So that still needs to be done manually.
Okay, number 5, making survey layout changes. Typically with any survey, what you would like to do is create your own logo, your own branding, and make it according to your own needs. And you wouldn't necessarily want to use the Questback logo and the Questback branding. So there are ways of amending the branding and the survey layout, as you can see here. So there's 2 paths that you can take to access the layout. So for the more novice users that have no web development, HTML or CSS skills, you would go via the survey menu, layout, and access the standard editor. So from here you can make updates via the actual interface, not requiring any code skills whatsoever. You can also go via the Pro editor, and you can then use your own HTML, CSS, and make updates accordingly. So I'll go back into the survey and just show you where they can be found. Go within the survey menu and the layout on the left-hand side. So this is the interface of the standard editor. As you can see, pretty straightforward. Pretty much any user would be able to use this without any problems whatsoever. So you can browse on your local PC, attach any logos that you like. There's a preview link here, so when you've made any changes, you can quickly hit preview and just see how the changes would look like. There's a few tabs along the top. So relating to the different elements of EFS survey. So you've got the background color, background image. A few of these options have a tooltip besides them, just to give you a little bit of background in regards to what they will change. So yeah, very, very useful and very handy. And we have pretty much added quite a lot of options available. So you can make many changes without the requirement of any sort of coding skills whatsoever. Again, you can make changes to the progress bar here. You can activate it, you can change the colors, etc. And yeah, that's pretty much it in regards to the standard editor. So the more advanced option here on the left-hand side, the Pro editor. So this is for the more advanced users who have HTML and CSS knowledge and skills. There's a template for each of the elements of the actual survey. I won't go into too much detail, but the most popular option where the changes are made is in the user CSS file. So you just go into the user CSS, add your own CSS, and save accordingly. So this overwrites all the standard CSS that's there in the survey. Again, you have the option to preview if you like, and see all the changes that you've made.
One piece of advice from me, as someone who's got quite limited HTML skills, is Notepad is your friend in these scenarios. So if you're ever making change these areas and you're not overly confident, is just take the existing code, put it into a Notepad type program on your PC, and that way you've got a backup, because the undo abilities around this area are quite limited. So if you're unsure, definitely create a backup of the existing code before you go in and make any changes.
Okay, another very useful option, validating disposition codes. So this is concerning the mail dispatch feature in EFS. I'll just show you a screen grab of where the option can be found. So this would be when you're sending out, for instance, an invite or a reminder. It's used typically for mails that are going to be scheduled in the future. So a typical example would be you want to send out a reminder in 2 or 3 days' time. And let's just say that half of the people have completed the survey and half of them haven't. So you would expect to send to those that haven't completed the survey. But within the time frame of sending out the email or scheduling the dispatch and the date the emails will be sent, there may be a likelihood of some of those participants going in and completing the survey. So you wouldn't necessarily want to send them a reminder if they've completed the survey within that time frame. So what you would do is you would use this option to ensure that just before the mail dispatch is processed, there's a validation being carried out before the dispatch process. So it will basically filter out all of those that have completed. And as you can see here, I've taken a screen grab of the tooltip. It'll only send out to those disposition codes. So 11 not invited, 12 invited, email could not be delivered and suspended. I'll show you how you can access the option within EFS. So in regards to a personalized survey, you can go into participant administration. I'll select the last participant here and click on remind and execute. So I guess it's a very familiar sort of page that many of you have accessed and have seen. So you can select a mail template or create your own mail template here. So if you scroll down towards the bottom, there's the option there, validate disposition codes before dispatch. So just ensure that you've selected this option before scheduling the invite, so that it will validate before the sending process. Okay, and the last one here is resetting survey data before going live. So this is a very, very popular option amongst everyone. A lot of the time before going live, typically you would want to test the survey. So there would be a testing phase where you would go in as a tester, check all the functionality and make sure that it's working as required, as intended. A lot of the time you may forget or not realize that there is an option within EFS where you can wipe the entire testing data before going live. So there's a screen grab here. This is the option. It can be found under the survey menu, test and validation reset survey. So I'll just go into EFS and show you where it can be found. So you've got survey menu, test and validation, and the last option here, reset survey. So you've got various options here. So you can either choose to keep the results data collected so far. So what that will do is it will just rebuild the database tables, and it will just reflect any sort of changes that you've made in terms of deleting questions, deleting pages, so anything that's pretty much redundant, just to make it more efficient and more clean. The second option, reset survey completely and delete all survey data collected so far. So this would be the most popular option, just to get rid of the entire data set that you have in terms of testing data, just to make sure that you're ready to go live and everything's completely wiped. And lastly, delete test participants and the results data. So if you've just used testers, for instance, and no live participants, you can just go ahead and use that option to just get rid of the test participants. So choose the appropriate option and click on reset survey, and you will pretty much be ready to go from that point.
Fantastic. I think we've actually had a question in regarding that. Yes, so can you do that multiple times for a project, or is it just a one-off data reset that you can do?
So yeah, you can run the reset as many times as you like. There aren't any restrictions. If you decide to go through another round of testing, yeah, by all means you can go ahead and reset as many times as you like. So there's no restrictions with that option.
Fantastic. So we are on the official Q&A now. So we've got a few other questions that have come in. Apologies, I missed a couple as we were going along. So first one's regarding the importing pages. And they're asking, can you import pages to a different platform? Not quite. So the way to get around that, if you've got more than one platform with us, which a number of our customers have, best way to go about it would be go to Survey menu, and then to export the whole project. So go to Export, and then go to Export Project, just there. Obviously, I won't go through this just now, and then export the data you need. It's actually a very quick process, surprisingly quick. And then for the actual new project, you can go to New Project here on the new platform and import your project. And then you can then import the pages on the new platform to multiple projects as you would have before. But you will at some point have to sort of export and then import the project to get around that at some point. So yeah, a little bit of a workaround there. You can't go directly from one platform to another without first exporting and importing the project. The next one's asking about Reporting Plus, you see. They're asking, can you update the data more than daily, or is daily on the automatic update?
So in the automatic update, the lowest interval would be daily. So you can select the option to run an update once a day. And in regards to the actual manual update, you can only run that hourly, so every 60 minutes.
Fantastic. So it's not designed to be an always-on solution. It's updatable every hour, or automatically it will do it every day. If you're going into the situation where you want a sort of an always-on, that's really getting more into our My Site dashboard kind of functionality. So for that person, probably best to reach out to the account manager if you're interested in going down that route, because it's not quite designed with that in mind. Okay, got just one question left, which is around deleting future emails. So you showed how to send out an email in the future. Can you now get rid of it if you've changed your mind?
Yes, you can. So in regards to scheduled emails, when you schedule a mail batch, you would see it under the system options here in the top right hand corner. And if you click on options and then mail queue on the left hand side, you would have something in the queue summary here. So this is something that we've dispatched in the future. So typically you would see all the scheduled invites or reminders under the queue summary that are yet to be dispatched. So for instance, if you've made any mistakes or any errors and you'd like to delete the dispatch, you can go ahead and click on the cross here. So what it'll do is it'll be removed from the mail queue. Likewise, if there's anything else, any other issue in terms of sending out the mail dispatch, you can always queue it to send out at a later time. So at the moment, it's released to be sent out. If you click the play button, you can put it on hold or pause the mail dispatch and then release it at a later stage if you like.
Fantastic. Just one final check for questions, otherwise. Yep, that's it for the questions. So thank you so much today, everyone, for your time. Hope you found that really valuable for some of the main questions we get asked on the help desk. We're back in about a month's time looking at our spring release and the functionality and new features from that. So we hope to see you then, but otherwise, thanks very much.
Thank you, everyone.